Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm so excited today. We are talking to Kirt Burdick, the auteur of the Death of Power, amazing indie bootleg comic book that has gotten the attention of the Cartoonist Kayfabe crowd and is about ready to launch its third Kickstarter. And I'm so excited to talk about Kirt. It's like one of the most amazing comics I've read in recent years. It's so fun. It's wildly imaginative. The art is outrageous and beautiful. And I cannot wait to talk to Kirt about his process. So thank you for joining us today. Welcome, Kirt.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for all the kind words. That was great. I really,
It's It's funny because I feel like you're definitely a beneficiary of the kayfabe effect. I wouldn't have heard of you had I not watched their channel, and you sort of came out of nowhere. Tell us a little bit about your background and where you came from. Is this your so you're working on this sort of well, just tell us about your history in comics or whatever.
oh, well, I've always been, trying to do my own comics since I was a kid, you know, and maybe about 5 years ago, I finally actually finished a comic. It was a huge milestone. A little late, but from where I wanted to be. But it was, and that was a project called Fey Archaic, which was my attempt to do an adventure strip like a Hal Foster, Prince Valiant, or Alex Raymond, um, a Flash Gordon, Rip Kirby style book. And it was super challenging. It was only 68 pages, but it took me years to complete. I was doing it on the side. Um, but it did give me a lot of confidence just getting over that finish line of completing it. Like, obviously I didn't become a household name from it, but it was a significant accomplishment for me. And after that, especially since that book, which is this one, I'm running low on copies of this. So
It sounds amazing. Like I have to say, like reading the Death of Power, PDF she sent me, like your style is very beautiful and illustrative, and I think it would lend itself very well to that genre.
yeah, so with that project, it was really prose heavy, like, the adventure strip was. It's almost like I think a lot of people consider it like a proto comic book, not or even a proto comic strip, because it's not there's not acting through the panels. The Each panel is an illustration, like an establishing shot with a little paragraph describing the events, and sometimes the dialogue. And it and it was a very challenging, especially since I'm not too confident with my prose. And I wasn't taking the prose stuff too seriously until I had friends read it, and they told me, like, that the prose kind of sucked. So I ended up like rewriting a lot of the prose. But that's one of the cool things with that format. You can do that. um so I think that format's very good for building a backstory, building a universe, and it's just an interesting format that isn't really done anymore. Mainly because I think it's not too viscerally engaging, because it can be kind of boring. Like, I love Prince Valiant. I have a lot of the fanographic reprints and the artist edition, which I just treasure. It's huge, you know, but I can't even get it out. It's literally as big as this back of my seat. But it is difficult to read as a modern comic book reader.
Yeah, No, a few years back, one of my friends gave me a big, great trade paperback of Flash Gordon, which I
Yeah,
had never read before, and it
yeah.
was amazing. Like I was completely drawn in, and yeah, but I get it. Like, yeah, that seems. It's funny because hearing you speak about your struggle with prose and stuff, one of the things that struck me with The Death of Power, it is kind of a light read. I mean, it's
Yeah,
very much dependent on visual storytelling, I should
right.
say, which clearly is a strong suit for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
but yeah, in a way, like I was just like, it was a very quick read.
Yeah,
so,
no,
so
each book is about, a couple minutes to read, maybe like under 5 minutes. But with Death of Power, it's kind of the opposite approach. So I did that really detailed, concentrated information, and trying to get as much information I could on the page via text and imagery. The Death of Power is the opposite, where I really want to focus on how, getting, almost having it be a minimalist comic and really focusing on the actions. And really, I want it to be a silent comic. Of course, I have a little bit of dialogue here and there where I need it, where I can't figure out a way to get around it. But I would love it if it could be like that G.I. Joe Snake Eyes issue, and it's just all silent, like through the whole thing. I think that would be
there,
super fun.
there are a few, comics that exist like that in comic book history. One that
Yeah.
stands out is John Byrne wrote a four-issue limited series for of Batman that Jim Aparo drew, and
Really?
when he got the art back, the storytelling was so perfect, he didn't script it, and I think that is like
Oh, wow.
amazing to like make that decision after the book is made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like going into it, you would think you would need to take the extra special care to make sure you can pull it off. So, I mean, that really
I gotta
speaks to
look.
the,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no, you need to look it up. It's really amazing.
Do you know what issues that run was? Top of your head?
It was a mini series.
Okay.
So,
I'll look it up.
I mean, it's the only one that John Byrne really did of Batman. So, and Jim Aparo drew it. So, it can't be too hard to,
Yeah,
find
yeah.
the info on that. But
That's
I'm
awesome.
happy to look it up for you. But no, but back to turning back to your book, if there was ever an example of a picture being worth 1,000 words, I think it is definitely The Death of Power without any spoilers. I mean, some of those panels are downright shocking, but I'm your audience, just so you know. Like I live for it. I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Like
Awesome.
like, okay,
Thank
so
you.
you're a longtime comics fan since you're a kid. Like, what comics are influencing you? Which ones are you reading? What's off the rack for you?
For right now, or
Like when you're a kid, or
when I was a kid,
your introduction to comic books.
you know, at that time when I was a kid, there was still like the drugstore spinner racks. So that was my first introduction. And I think key books that were real, like, kind of important to me was this one, Strike Force Moratori.
Of course, yeah, I
We
know
Are
that.
About to Die, Strike Force Moratori. It was, I think, an 85 book.
Yeah.
Um, and it really should have been a mini series, but it was an ongoing series. And it got, it kind of fell off the rails. But that was a real important book. When I was real young, before I really actually started taking collecting seriously, or like really getting into it, Arak, Son of Thunder, because it was like Conan with a mohawk. I thought that was like, that just blew my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's even better than Conan. And retrospectively, like looking at the Savage Sword of Conan magazines are just so amazing. Like the Buscema, Alfredo Aquila, stuff. It's like stuff
I can't help but think you would make an amazing Conan. Maybe that needs to be on your list of projects.
we'll see. Yeah, that would be fun. That would be really cool. I haven't really thought about that. I'm also a big animation fan, and there was recently that show Primal by Gendy Tartakovsky. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've seen it or
Oh
not.
yeah, no. I'm. It's like on my radar, like recently, and it looks freaking amazing. Like I can't
It's
wait to get into
I
it.
kind of think it is one of the best versions of Conan. Like
Hmm.
it's not Conan, but like spiritually it is, at least for me. And
Yeah,
it's just there's maybe one episode I'd skip, but like the whole thing is just beautiful. And that was also an influence for Death Power too, because that one is there's really no dialogue in that outside of some grunts and like uh quest for fire type fake languages
yeah,
but that's in season 2. But I highly recommend that. That is it is a beautiful show.
yeah. I
uh
will definitely check it out. Thanks for reminding me about it.
yeah, yeah.
So you do your own like 68-page comic book. Like that's quite an accomplishment. And then how long ago was that? And then
I
suddenly,
finished it in 2018, 2019, but I didn't print it till 2019, I think, is when I did a Kickstarter. And that was a really tough Kickstarter. I think I asked for a little too much money, and I'm not really good with social media. It's not something that comes naturally to me. I'm getting better though, I think. But I did it's just I was even worse then. And I had like maybe like 300 followers or something. So it was really hard to actually get the funds. It was super stressful. So yeah, then I printed that. And after that, I got kind of in a malaise about it. And I did have a bunch of outlines for other Fey Archaic stories, like thumbnailed out, not thumbnailed, but like, kind of outlined. I do a lot of outlines. And it just I couldn't get the energy to actually commit to them because Fair Cake was a real grueling process. I did a lot of redrawing, rewriting, reworking, recoloring on it, which was a great learning experience. But it kind of at the end of that made me kind of, it felt like a marathon. And, but one of those marathons where you see people vomiting at the end, like like no, it wasn't fun.
I
So
know that's so funny. Not to interrupt you, but yes, like I saw this horrifying footage of this woman like practically almost dying at the like finish line, shitting her pants, having to be
right,
like carried over practically. I'm
I,
like,
that's
I have
that
no
was me.
desire to run a fucking marathon. Let me tell
No,
you that.
I sometimes, I think I'm a little bit of a masochist because sometimes I think like, yeah, that sounds, that'll be fun. Look at that. She's shitting all over herself. Let's try it. But I'm too physically lazy to actually commit to something like that because that would take a lot of work. But it's like I wish I spoke another language. I wish I spoke Spanish. I like my whole life I've lived in Latino communities.
Right.
And I don't I can order maybe, but they're
Wh
bilingual communities.
where do you live?
I'm in the Mission District now in San Francisco. And
Oh, okay.
when I was a teenager, I was in Watsonville.
Hmm.
It's south of Santa Cruz area.
Duolingo.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I wish I honestly I should be able to speak more Spanish than I do. It's embarrassing.
It's, I like it's been, aside from doing a cartwheel, my lifelong ambition has been to learn Spanish. I
Yeah.
mean, my Spanish is actually really good, but it's
Oh,
just like not enough there. Like, if somebody starts like going off in Spanish, I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
But,
No, but
you know,
lately I've been able, I've been actually a little bit proud of myself because like I've been able to pick up certain words while they're speaking. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
I actually recognize that word, which is again like I should be far better than I am, but in a lot of things. But definitely in Spanish, I should be, yeah. But it takes again that takes actual work and study and time.
Right? I know. If I had the you know, I don't know, the follow through for all the ambition I have, I mean, I could be president.
Oh man, I would vote for you right now.
Well,
Well,
I mean, I feel like I would be the best choice at this point. And that's
yeah.
saying nothing, right? All right. So then you are in this malaise, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you're just, I don't know, at the drawing board, tears in your eyes, and suddenly Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor make this call to arms, and you are like,
Oh,
this light goes off in your head, or what happens?
that was later. There was Galacto Pit Fighter, which was this one that came next.
Oh, can
And
you hold that up again?
oh yeah,
Just for a
sure.
second.
And this one is
Okay.
gonna this is gonna be available on the Kickstarter
Oh,
too.
cool. Very
This is
cool.
this is the project. This is really the pandemic project I did.
Very lucrative for comic
Yeah.
book artists.
Yeah, no, we people who have a practice of making comics had a secret tool that other people didn't for, getting through that. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it's not
It
to say it wasn't tough, especially with
for
the
the it wasn't
but
it's not to say it wasn't tough for the 500,000 people that died,
yeah.
but for me it was okay because I contributed to a few fan projects and
Oh, really?
started my YouTube channel and
That's awesome.
discovered Kayfabe. So yeah.
Yeah, no, they've been great. A lot of people talk about it, but it was a real healthy voice to be included into the online comic community for sure. But yeah, I was walking with a buddy of mine who I did a Mexican wrestling comic called El Mano. Not the most creative title, but it was supposed
The Hand.
yeah, yeah. And it's supposed to be La Mano, but
I
again, I
was gonna
don't
say,
but I don't know Spanish. So well, I thought, and I talked to a friend of mine who was from Mexico City, and I explained it like he's masculine, so I made it El Mano, which is
I
a
know it's like
terrible. It's not a real, it was a goofy comic. It was inspired by the Santos movies. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
I think I know I haven't seen them, but I think I'm
Like
familiar with it.
Santos and Blue Demon.
Hmm.
Great. They're from the 60s, 70s. I think they still make some, but I haven't seen any of the new ones. But Santos movies is basically like this world famous Mexican wrestler called El Santo.
Hmm.
And he's also tracks down and fights, vampires and Draculas and Frankensteins and werewolves.
That's awesome. I know
It's
we need like a
wonderful.
really good like Mexican wrestler movie. Like where is it?
Yeah.
Like I
Oh,
think
I would love it if Guillermo del Toro made one. Like that
hell
would just
yeah, that would be
be
awesome.
so good. Like
Yeah.
a really heartfelt El Santo movie or something inspired by El Santo by Guillermo del Toro would is like one of those dream movies that I would just love to see. But anyways, like that influenced me doing El Mano, whereas El Mano versus the German bat slug and other stuff. And I made up this like fake letters page where it's basically like people like trying to get me to pay like my cable bill or something like invoices in it and in one of them it was a letter that was supposed to be mistakenly sent to me for a different comic and it was the Galacto pit fight or something and a buddy of mine was asking about that the friend of mine who drew it because I wrote that one and my buddy Jan Lee drew it and Jan we were getting a burrito And Jan goes, "Hey, what was Galacto Pit Fighter about?" And he said it wrong. It was Galacto Pit Fight. And then I said, "That's going to be my next comic. I'm doing that." And it got me out of my malaise. And then I just started writing this,
That's
monster
amazing.
comic. And then
It,
that's when I after I did 2 issues of this, that's when the call from out to do a Death of Superman parody, was on Kayfabe.
I
And
have to say that, like, I mean, obviously, they responded to it,
yeah, thank God.
and I have to say, no, but like, I feel like you really, like, I can't even describe how it made me feel, but like you really just did it so well, in the fact that I think it just kind of has to be that crazy and outrageous to even be worth doing. Like, there's no
Yeah,
point in just doing like some like retread or like some like perfect version of it, like in a DC style that they could publish. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
mean, it just like it's so beyond like so and like is that your usual style? I feel like there's such a distinct style with it, as far as like there's a lot of like really beautiful like illustration, like line work juxtaposed with these like super bright popping like monochrome colors.
That came from me doing this short like serial killer comic, um, where it's based on a true story that happened in Santa Cruz back in the 70s. And
Which one? Because I'm like obsessed with serial killers.
it was Herbert Mullen.
Okay.
He was in Santa Cruz the same time as Ed Kemper. So it was like one of those horrible, it was a real dark time for the city. So, and after I did this, I found out about it through this podcast I listened to called Last Podcast on the Left. And, listening to their Herbert Mullen and Ed Kemper thing, I realized, hey, I'm from Santa Cruz. And then I talked to my uncles about it. And yeah, my uncle, one of my uncle, well, two of my uncles knew both of them. One of them has passed away, but yeah, no, it's weird. At that time during the 60s, 70s, Santa Cruz is much smaller town. It's still relatively a small town, you know. Um, but yeah, it's wild. Yeah, it's
Don't,
supposedly. Yeah, go ahead.
don't they have a significant vampire population there?
Well, that's what I've heard, but I've never seen one myself. Uh,
Okay, so you are inspired to make this comic book about the serial killer,
yeah,
and
I had to do that. It was for some contest, which was actually already canceled. That I didn't know was canceled because I wasn't on Twitter or formerly
mhm.
known as Twitter. I wasn't on that, so I didn't know it was canceled. And it was during the pandemic. I just finished doing Galacto 2, and I was getting antsy again and not misanthropic, but getting that malaise going. Um, and so I just said, it's like 3 weeks, and I've never done a comic in three weeks, in anything less than like a year. so I like thumbnailed it out and said, okay, I'm getting this book done in the next 3 weeks. And I developed that style of kind of doing that minimal style of the same approach I'm doing with Death of Power for that. And I did get it done. And I mailed it off. I didn't mail it off. I emailed the PDF to them because that was the original things. I think it was to Z2 Comics. And somebody emailed me back. It's like, oh, hey, sorry that this was been canceled. you know, but honestly, it was it was still during the pandemic. I was still like on furlough from my job. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to be going back to my job. So it was actually a really great thing to keep my mind off stuff. And it was a big accomplishment for me. I got something done. I got 10 pages done in uh in 3 weeks, which was huge for me. So, and I was happy with, and I actually think that style looks, I'm I'm more fond of it than my more detailed illustrative style, at least for
Yes,
now.
I'm like, I need to see your other work. You're gonna have to send me some shit after we talk, but
Yeah, yeah, sure.
just to compare us, because I really do love that style. And so I love when that kind of happens, like when, you sort of went to this style out of necessity as a
Yeah.
time saver, and it turns out to be like such a revelation, because I think it's like you have like just a sublime like use of color and color choice.
Thank
Like
you.
the cover for issue 3 with is just beautiful. Like
That came
I
out good. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. That
yeah,
and I got the test print in, so there's a couple things
nice.
gonna
Look at
change.
that. I
Yeah,
love the
no, it's
I
really, really, really came out good.
it looks a little bigger than a normal comic. Is it
It's a magazine size, so
yeah.
it's 8.5 by 11.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And did I hear you say you printed it in China?
No, no,
No,
not
okay.
this one. This is a place in New York.
Oh, okay.
New York, and
Yeah.
I don't even think they do pamphlets. They're not like a comic book publisher. They just have really cheap uh like color prints.
I'm surprised there's
But
not some great printer in San Francisco, but I guess maybe they're probably more expensive.
it's too expensive. There are a couple places in the East Bay. A PSP print is pretty good, and there's a God, what's it called? A1 printers up in Sacramento that a friend of mine prints his book through. And the cool thing with them, I think they have newsprint, so you can print on newsprint. So that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Um, but this is over in New York, and like I said, there's a couple things that. Well, the version I sent you is the one that has the changes I made. This one doesn't.
Hmm.
I've been getting. Every time I show it to somebody, they point out something. And
Oh my God, I know.
yeah, and
It's
this,
like it
yeah,
almost makes you never want to show anything to anybody ever.
yeah, but it's important to do
It
that,
is. It
and
is.
and just you gotta see it as an opportunity to fix things, because like with Fair Cake and most of my stuff, like I I have a hard time looking at it, just because you just see the what it what it could have been and what it's not. And you just see the mistakes, and you just see where things didn't work. But since this project is a bootleg and it's a parody, and it's riffing off of characters that aren't really that I love, but aren't my creations really. I mean,
Hmm.
they're my versions of these characters. uh,
Right.
and as the story goes on, they'll become so wholly different from the starting point. So they'll be really, uh, unfortunately for them, transformed into my type of characters. Um,
Lord help them.
yeah, but because of that, because it's a riff, it's a parody of DC Comics, really. When I see mistakes or things off, like I'm like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah,
I don't care.
exactly. No skin off my teeth.
Like, oh, hey, I drew the boots differently. Oh yeah, I don't care.
Um, and without spoiling, I have to say I was like pleased as punch to see the inclusion of so many different versions of
Yeah,
those characters
it's really good.
present.
my
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely like a high point in the series. Which, how many issues do you plan? I think you said seven, or is that
well,
crazy?
I just worked down the outline. It is very ambitious, and hopefully I'll be able to get it all done. But it was 12, and I went through the outline. I think it's going to be a solid 10 issues. So I got 7 more issues to do. So
And an amazing trade paperback at the end of this would be
yeah, that's
just
cool.
like so nice.
That would be awesome. That would be really, really cool. Um, and yeah, so that's the goal. I mean, it is very ambitious, and it's very a long series, especially for me. But one of the things that gets me excited about it, because I want to see if I can do that, um, if I can like keep getting these issues out. That's almost more important to me than if it's good or successful. Of course, it has to be good on some level for me to be comfortable to actually release it. But you know, there's it took me so long to even get to a point where I could complete something. Um, it's kind of important to me to see if I can do a series. So
Well, I'm here to tell you that it is good on every level, and I highly encourage you to keep moving forward. I know you can do it,
thanks,
and
man.
we need this in our lives. It's so amazing. So circling back, I want the story, the like, okay, so you're watching the video, and then what? You just like instantly know you're good. This is your calling
For Death of
for
Power.
the death of power. Yeah.
Oh, so I was watching, their review of Superman 75, and like Ed Pisker's comments and also Jim Rugg's comments like had me kind of cracking up. And I when that series came out, I was pretty jaded with that stuff, and I wasn't reading that book, and I thought like the breaking of the bat and the death of Superman is all bullshit. Um, Although I have to say, like the reign of Superman um, did have some good moments and some interesting ideas. Uh, but anyways, like I saw that, and then I think it was either in that video or another video that he said like we need a better version of this, something that's not so corporate. We were let down from this book, and and he just made the like shout out to the kayfabe community to make one. And I just finished, I think I just finished doing. I was in the middle of working on a Herbie song, and I just finished the Galacto Pit Fighter 2. And I thought like, yeah, I could do a a Death of Superman, and so I looked over issue 75, and I never really liked the design for Doomsday. It's just not my sensibility, and it's also a very complex design to draw. Like I wouldn't want to have to draw it. And I wanted to change how Superman looked, and kind of make it my own, to give me that freedom to have flexibility with what I do with the story. So
Plus, it helps you not get sued.
that is a very, very good point. It was also that. Yes, yeah, honestly, it was that. And also I like the title of Death of Power. Like, and it just have my character just called Power, because
I like that too. Like I feel like that is what they should have called it. Like it's so meaningful and like
yeah,
impactful, right?
yeah, because and also I personally and I think a lot of people are exhausted with the corporate embrace of the superhero genre. Um, and and I think like with Batman Damned, which I love the art. I think the story could have been better, but it's just not my thing. Brian Azzarello is a good writer. It's just I think you could have, it's not when the demon started rapping, I think I was done. Although it is a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. But the fact that they killed, they stopped Vertigo. They ended that brand, replaced it with was it
Black
Bootleg,
Label.
Black
Yeah.
Label,
Hmm.
and it's supposed to be Game of Thrones with superhero Game of Thrones, basically, right? At
Right.
least that's the vibe I got from it. Then they do it. They show bat penis.
I was gonna say, is this why there are so many dicks in your books?
Well, they do that, and then they
And then they
cut it
shadow
out.
it out. Yeah,
They shadow
I
it out.
know. It's so funny. Since we're talking
What the
about
fuck?
dicks, let's talk about it. You know what? Because like looking at your book, I was like, yeah, there's a lot of dicks in precarious situations in your book, and I thought, on one hand, I want to applaud you for including dicks because I think that people are so afraid of dicks for some reason or so preoccupied by them. But at the same time, I was like, it is a little distracting, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that stupid book. That's all anybody talks about is the bat wang or whatever there. And I mean, and it was nice enough if you've seen the but it wasn't, gag worthy or anything.
Well, I, yeah. The I just don't understand the controversy over it, especially after all the books that Vertigo came out with, all the, even Watchmen. I mean, like I just it was just bizarre to me. And that kind of just showed me the corporate interest within not because the movies are such a big business and the television show and the lifestyle branding of these trademarks are such, I think, big business that now you're trying to create, form this small genre into something other than what it is. I don't know, but maybe that is what it is. I have no idea. I don't. Who knows?
And that's why you decided to depict Lex Luthor's dick and balls as
Yeah.
unattractive and shriveled as they
Right.
should be. Right.
Yeah. I was really happy with that.
But was that like because you just wanted it to be extreme, like in your face, like anti-corporate, like just
Yeah.
super
Well, definitely anti-corporate.
punk
It's
rock and
yeah. I don't know. Part of me, like, I'll write out an outline, and that will become kind of like the map to the route I'm going to go. And I try to stay true to that, to the comic and to this fake world that I've built up in my mind. And for this work, it is a gratuitous. I think it is. There's certain things that within modern current corporations, especially living in San Francisco, dealing with all these unicorn companies. You have like the cruise companies with the self-driving cars, the flouting of regulation, the flouting the of laws, the flouting of common decency sometimes, and also the outrageous wealth discrepancy between working class, which most can't live in SF, and the people living within the tech community who live off of venture capital, and that's how they make their money, is getting the venture capital generally. But again, there's probably multiple facets that I'm unaware of and don't know. But that said, it is perverse, and and the embrace of the superhero genre and that superhero philosophy within you know uh big movie corporations, and it being such a generative force of money for the last 20 years. There is also something perverse about that, and there is something perverse about the concept of the superhero genre, which I do love, but it shouldn't it shouldn't be taken seriously, and that's, I think, the problem I have, is that a lot of people have become dogmatic about the superhero genre. Maybe they've always been that way and I just started to notice, but especially with the movies, of and some movies are worse than others, some movies are better than others, but taking it serious, like Winter Soldier is, I think, a really entertaining film and a really well done superhero movie, but it's also taking itself way too seriously. It
Right.
thinks of itself as if it's a 1970s, John Le Carre film. And I think there's something perverse about that. And because I feel that way about the genre and the stuff, I also feel that satire needs to be a part of the superhero. Like a good superhero comic has to have some level of satire or silliness to it for me. And that, for those two reasons, that's why Death of Power is gratuitous the way it is, and like hopefully perverse, but in a satirical and goofy way, hopefully. But I'm sure some people will obviously be offended by it. I mean,
Well,
what can you do,
some people are uptight, but I mean, it's not your grandmother's Superman, okay? So it's
Oh,
not for the
God.
faint of heart. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're, I don't even want to spoil it, I don't even want to say, but it is so good. So, but steering back to your art, I do love your process, or I mean, your style so much. And I was just curious a little about your process, like your tools. How do you work? Do you
Yeah.
work digitally? What programs you may use? How does it come about?
Um, you know, so yeah, again, first we'll do an outline and then I'll thumbnail it out in a sketchbook. And then from those thumbnails, I'll usually do quick uh uh sketches and layouts in Photoshop. And I'll generally from there single out the panels, or sometimes the full page or half the page, and print out the roughs and build up the line art from there, like with pencil. And I got into this habit of using marker paper that is used for a lot of industrial design and architecture. Uh, for architects use it. It's like marker paper that is semi-transparent, but it has a really good tooth to it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really strong, nice paper. And I'll do a pencil cleanup, sometimes with a light box, most of the time with, I don't need one. And I'll do a pencil cleanup of that for the final art. For the final line art, then I'll scan it in. And if I need to touch up it, things here and there, I'll do that, usually digitally. Sometimes I'll like reprint it out and touch it up that way. And so I go through that process first. So I do all the line art first. And then I just start going through the colors, and that's all done primarily in Photoshop. I'll do some spot like either, one of the things I love about working with pencil, graphite pencil is, I can get like these really nice sharp lines, but I can also, blur them out and get some gray tones in there and go back and forth with that. And I just find that like really, really fun and exciting. And with like scanning it in, I've come to really love the dirtiness of how a pencil cleanup will look sometimes. Like, you get all these like weird, like little splotches and stuff and smears by accident. And I've come to really enjoy that aesthetic. So,
Yeah, have you anyone who watches my channel knows that I'm like obsessed with like artist editions and stuff. Have you had a chance to get into any of those at all?
you
It's
mean buying them?
or looking at them or buying them or just
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
they're kind of mostly out of my price range,
yeah,
but
they are pretty expensive.
me and a buddy we were filming something for his Patreon at
Hmm.
a local comic shop, and we accidentally busted his like rolling gate. So to make up for that, because I think we both I bought a bunch of comics that were really expensive. One of them being the Rocketeer Artist Edition
Oh my God, yes. How
with Dave
cool.
Stevens.
Yeah.
There was a recent Bill Sienkiewicz. It wasn't like it was a Marvel produced artist edition thing. So
Yeah.
like it wasn't like the IDW ones. I think it was paperback. But
Oh
I was
yeah.
actually thinking of that. You had some Electra Lives Again pages in there, and a lot of the New Mutant stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
But the only one I think I got is actually the Rocketeer.
Yeah.
I would really love to be able to get those EC ones,
Yeah,
you
for sure.
know. God, that would be awesome. Like the Jack Davis one, Wally Wood one, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
But
So you have a Kickstarter coming for the third issue.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, I think I'll post this in conjunction with the release of your Kickstarter to help
okay,
promote it.
yeah, that'd be great.
But do you have a specific date set yet, or is
Yeah,
it?
supposedly, I don't know. I might be rushing it, but it's Monday, and I'm just gonna do like a 2.5 week Kickstarter, so it's a
Oh,
little,
really?
yeah, yeah.
So did you when
Might
for
be a bad
issue
idea.
was for issue two was had you already appeared on Kayfabe and everyone knew about it by
Uh,
then, or
yeah, for issue one, for
oh,
issue
for
one,
issue one? So
yeah,
did
but
it
not.
help? Do you think it helped the Kickstarter
Oh
getting that?
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, kayfabe, definitely helped out 100%. I, I basically owe them a life debt.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, it definitely does not hurt if you're an
No,
indie comic creator to have them on your radar or to be under a
yeah,
radar rip.
they could almost start making requests of me like taking care of some business for them. Like this guy's been saying something, they need him to be quiet, and I would have to. I mean, I'd probably be ineffective of like being violent to somebody, but but I would have to try if they asked me.
Well,
Yeah,
that is a debt indeed. And
yeah.
you're
I
from
should ask
San
someone
Francisco.
else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
But
definitely. All
um,
right. So, is there anything you want to share with us before we wrap this up? I'm so
no,
happy to promote your
no, I'm
Kickstarter for the third issue of
yeah,
Death of
no,
Power.
this is the number 3 that's going to be coming. And I'm gonna try to print the books up like pretty fast, depending on, if it like really blows up, then I'll have to order more. But I have generally it's around 300 to 300 people, or 300 400 people. So I think I'm gonna probably order those pretty soon, so just so I can get them out fast.
Hmm.
But I think in the Kickstarter I have it listed as getting it in February, but it should be sooner than that. Yeah. At least
Nice.
that's the plan. Yeah. But yeah, I have to buy a bunch of mailers, and I have to get the book plate printed and stuff. So I mean, all that stuff's ready to print. I just need to put in the orders and stuff. Yeah. But
Well, very cool. I congratulate you on your success with Death of Power. I
thank you,
love your
man.
style. I think it's an amazing book. I will definitely be contributing to the campaign, and we will link the campaign in the description of this video to make
Oh,
sure that
awesome.
everyone can get it because um, I say this sometimes, but like, do not sit on this. Like, you guys do not want to miss this book. It is really that good. It is like the last page of the book just like made it for me. Anyone who knows me knows that's one of my favorite characters. So I was very excited to
Oh,
see
nice.
that, and it's really beautiful. It's just so good. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today, and I hope that you just continue on surprising us and entertaining us with your amazing work. It is so good.
Great, man. Thanks a ton. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I have issue 4 laid out, and you're going to be seeing more of that character. So
Awesome. I
yeah,
had a feeling. I had a
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
All right, Kirt. Well, I will let you get back to the drawing board, and you have a busy Kickstarter coming up. So I will be looking forward to seeing that come to success. And once again, I thank you for taking time to talk to me today. It was so nice
Yeah.
to get to talk to you. And I look forward again to seeing what you can do. And maybe we can chat again in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
All
let's
right.
have fun.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kirt.
All right.